So, hello everyone. Today is October 15th, 2025. Welcome to yet another Pro Community call. Um, as usual, this is recorded and we follow the CNCF Code of Conduct, which summarize to be nice to each other. Um, we will start by the recurrent topics. So that means welcoming any new members or attendees. And I know we have Thibaut and someone else as well, Adyashri. Thibaut, want to do a quick intro and tell us, let us know what you do with Pro.
Yeah. I'm Thibaut. I'm working in Adevinta, European marketplace. So we have different brands. It's You can see it like Craigslist. I don't know if it's still the case, but as if it's still the best example. But it's like the Craigslist in Europe. We have different Craigslist here in Europe, and we are basically running. I'm part of the platform team, and we are running a set of Kubernetes clusters and abstractions. I'm pretty interested in this scope, so I'm happy to join. And if I have any experience that can be helpful for you, try to share them and to contribute.
We welcome.
Thanks.
And Adyashri,
Oh, that's me, Barney.
oh, oh, hey Barney. I thought like we have a new joiner who left. Sweet. So, first thing, so we have a note taker already, and then we can talk about project news and updates. Do we have any project news or updates?
I guess release things we talk separately.
Yes, I think we're gonna get to the release topic 100%. But I guess like we do not have any major news um, in general, so we can skip that one. Next is milestone review, and I'm gonna share my screen. I think we're getting into the weeds directly. I like that. Oh, 0.5, which is due for 2 weeks. Actually, I just like remembered something. Some very minor news that are not really crazy is that the Crow website right now shows specific versions. So when you enter to the website, you can see the documentation for each version. So if you go to 0.2, um, you will see, like, for example, way less features in simple schema than we have in 0.4.1, which has much more in here. Maybe not, maybe like in different areas, but you can also check main so you can see the current features that are being developed. And I think here you can see way more supported markers in simple schema. So that was actually done for the 0.5 release so that we have version documentation for everything. And I believe that is directly tied to this item. So updating the documentation for 0.5. I believe we do have some documentation. Other things will need to be documented. How to use apply sets and that we're changing a few things on how Crow works internally. Um, However, I think the main two topics we want to talk about for 0.5 is the status conditions and the apply mode for RGDs. Um,
Before we dig into stuff, can you just refresh my memory? I think I remember a couple of weeks ago saying that we wanted to ping Scott on the statics conditions. That's like the phase two PR. to that
Yes.
complete status conditions. And if whether we heard from him or not, we were going to cut a release. Did we just decide not to do that?
We did ping him and he did update the PR. However, it's not really what we envisioned for no, and I think the UX or the interface is correct. I think the implementation will need some work, a little bit of work. Let me actually
Okay.
open the PR.
But does that change kind of our position on whether or not we cut O.5? I think we were just going to cut it from scope, and I believe that was Walter's suggestion, and we all agreed to it.
I think that what we agreed on 2 weeks ago was to give Scott 1 week to 0.5. So like see if he's gonna update the PR or not, and then decide there if we want to like cut it for 0.5.
I'm sorry, I'm with Jesse here. What we agreed was we were going to ask him if he could get it done in a week.
Yeah.
And if he didn't get it done in a week, we were going to cut.
Yeah.
Or
Yes.
if he said that he couldn't get it done in a week, we'd cut immediately, not even bother waiting the week.
Yes, there are some complications with the release cut. I can talk into more details. Like I can get to the weeds of that, but in general, the PR is not ready to be merged for 0.5, but that is
Okay.
not the reason why we did not cut 0.5.
Also,
There are
okay.
two-
All right, cool. I
Yeah.
just wanted to clear up that one bit. We can move on.
Yes.
Good deal.
Yeah.
One thing
So
I want to point out for 0.5 is that we need the Kate's registry to work. That's the one thing that blocks cutoff. We have one blocker for cutoff right now, and that's the Kate's registry. Justin, I think I pinged you on this a few days ago already. And since apply mode is closed, and we walk through with apply set, and we don't have status PR merged, that means that's the only thing that's left before we do cut. So once we have the go ahead that we can release, I think otherwise, I mean, we talked about this already. You want to maybe take a look at this as well, but we need to get the registry sorted. If we don't have the registry sorted, we can't push the image, and that's literally the only thing that's prohibiting us right now from cutoff.
So I just want to say something like, hey, the 0.5 cuts did not happen mainly because we don't have the infrastructure. Before we used to release on GitHub GHCR, so basically we used to push in here. Let me just show you. So we used to push to the CRO organization, but since we moved to Kubernetes right now, we got a release like through the Kubernetes registry. I believe, I don't know if this is a website, but no, it's not. But there is some prior infrastructure that needs to be set before we go ahead with the cut. I know there were like some other conversations about whether we want to do an apply mode and whether we want to like default to a different, like have both like server side and client side, but that's like something that was happening as we were like thinking of how we do the cut for the Kubernetes, for the CRO container image and Helm chart. So which one do we start with first? I think the CRO status conditions is definitely not making it to 0.5 unless if it's miraculously like just like gets updated and it makes it there, but we're not blocking on it. So I'm gonna move it actually. Gonna remove it from the list. And
And do we have an infrastructure issue for the Kate's registry?
I don't think it's an issue really. I think we're not familiar with the process of how to make the release in there, and it's like a lot of.
Yeah, I didn't mean like a personal issue. I meant, do we have an issue blocking?
I
think
thought
we
we
have a skill
did.
issue. I think we have a skill issue.
Does anybody have an issue? No, I just meant, should we put one in here? Should we open an issue? Maybe a whip PR, whatever, just so we're clear that that's part of the 0.5.
I thought we had one. Let me try to find it.
Thank you.
We do. It's 680.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, can you just add it to the...
I think the 680 was for onboarding of the other jobs, right? Not necessarily the release.
Fair. I did write staging repo. I meant it to be the whole enchilada, but yes, I will.
I'm
We
just
can-
gonna say we really only need an image push to work. So I think that would be the number one thing.
So status update, we have a staging directory under the, so it used to be we'd have a staging repo, and we have a staging directory thanks to Arno in that PR. So we need to create a job that runs on the whatever clusters it is these days that pushes to that, and then we can, I think, actually just promote from there. I don't even think we need anything. Obviously, it would be nice to have a script to generate the manifest that will do that, but I don't think there's anything more that's needed after that.
So there are two things that we need. We need like to be pushing an image each time we have a push to main. So that goes to staging, and then we need, I think making a release is basically just like cutting a PR to registry.k8s.io. And what I haven't figured out yet is how do we push a Helm chart? Like how is that different from the rest?
Is a Helm an OCI Helm chart, right?
Yes.
I don't. We should look and see if anyone else has done it. It should just be the same, but the transition, the transition from whatever from Docker to OCI leaves me a little bit confused.
No. It's not even that. No, it's the transition from S3 buckets to OCI in general, and any OCI registry will support it. The question is, does the K8s registry, because it's this bespoke little bluebird of protocol implementation. So we'd have to just check it. I think, yeah, looking for an existing example is probably the best, sanest thing, as Justin said. They may or may not allow that artifact type. That's or the manifest object type or whatever.
So the reason why I'm asking is that ideally we don't want to push a Helm chart every time we push to main. We want to push a Helm chart only on repository tags. This is how we functioned before. So we can push container images all the time, but Helm charts need to be only pushed with releases.
Well, we have a staging registry, so perhaps we could push the Helm chart every time to the staging registry, and only. I agree, we only promote the ones we promote, but
okay,
that would make me more comfortable in terms of not having different flows, as it were.
That sounds right.
Simpler question: can we also publish just raw manifests like kubectl apply manifests? For people who don't want to use Helm.
I mean, my short answer is why not, but yeah, so go ahead.
Can you clarify, push them where, Barney?
I don't know, just like the instructions today have like, hey, use Helm to install. Can we also have instructions that say, hey, you can also use kubectl apply -f whatever URL?
Yeah, should we could do like the GitHub raw trick. Should we? So I think Barney, what you're saying is like maybe we should have release specs in the project repo itself.
Either that or host it. Oh, I see what you mean. Not the registry, I guess. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, usually what they do is that when they release, they actually run a script to render the customize and put it into a single file.
Yeah,
that's what I've seen very often.
Don't they just like target the GitHub role link? What I've seen is people use kubectl with GitHub URLs to install because we have role manifests in here. I think it's manager. Yeah, there are some manifests in here, but yeah, never mind. Never mind.
You
Yeah,
need to from what I remember from other projects, you actually need to inject the version numbers that matches the exact version for your image for whatever. So you need to run a customized build somewhere and
Mhm.
push a new push a commit for this specific version that you want to install.
Makes sense.
You want to pin this image. All right, so it's a bit of work to make it work.
Okay, sounds good. Personally, I think in terms of priorities, we need to prioritize the Helm installation. I don't mind like if someone want to work on supporting different installation modes, but I think the one that is very urgent is unblocking us for the release.
Yeah, we can open an issue to track the recommendation, Barney. Actually, Barney, can you open an issue to track that? That was a good suggestion. I like it.
I can do that.
Thank you.
All right. Should we get to the spicy topic?
Seems good.
So, last time, I think not last time, but last week, we started discussing whether we want apply set as the default mode or not in Crow, and what would be a good transition from the current apply mode, which is a client-side diffin, I think duct tape and hack that worked for a lot of resources, but didn't work for some other resources. And TLDR is that we were discussing, or like I discussed with multiple people involved in Crow in here, to see what their feeling is regarding whether we want to support two modes. So basically introduce a field in the RGD. Let me show it in here. The reconcile field for the RGD that adds a new field called mode. So basically you could set either client-side delta or apply set. And by default, you would get the client-side delta and you could opt in to apply set. However, the general feeling that I received around this feature is that like, hey, we are exposing implementation details, we are leaking implementation details for something that is not pretty much working completely and will always have problems with things such as mutation webhooks, native secrets and config maps. So for some time we were discussing, hey, whether we should do this or not, and I believe the general consensus there were like two modes. It's either we're gonna support only apply sets, or we wanna do support both and deprecate it later on. The TLDR is that the feeling around this feature has been a little bit understandably not accepted, or like accepted. It was not like received very, very positively from a lot of members. So Jacob and I decided to close this PR actually and just like move on with the apply set mode. The main reason is that client-side delta is not really solving all the Crow problems. And the second reason is that I've been performing stress tests on Crow last week, and I've figured that actually apply set works very, very well at large scale. I'm very happy to share the results in here after I leave some room for people here to comment. But I can show like the performance of apply set at scale in general. Any comments? I'm expecting some reactions in here.
Okay. I maybe just have a level setting question. Or
Yeah.
actually, Matt, your hand's up. Go for it.
I put my hand up after you started talking, to be fair.
Yeah, but I probably have just the intro to what you were going to say. where are we at in this being a blocker for ODOT5? It seems to have come in more recently, even after when we decided we would cut O5 without, like with or without that final PR. Like, why is this not in like O.6 or something that isn't blocking O5? Like, do we have context for that, or we discuss it?
Yeah, so I
I mean,
can answer that real quick. This was not even like in scope for 0.5. If we were going
I
to
know.
do this, we will. I mean, this is the only time you could introduce such a thing because we are changing the crow behavior, and you
Okay.
could easily argue that it's a breaking change, but it's not a functional breaking change.
Okay, and I will just be one of the voices that continues to remind ourselves that we are pre-alpha and it's okay to break now. This we're moving very slowly to the point where I think we're risking adoption at this point because we're trying to preserve what would be perceived as like stable use cases where we're not code complete yet. So I'm just gonna say that out loud one more time, and we can all discuss it, or you can all tell me to shut up or whatever. That's fine. I think there's like a combination of being too conservative and feature scope, like feature creep. I don't know.
yeah. So I mean, I'm in agreement with Jesse here, which is like I'm not entirely opposed to having this be configurable, although I think I am opposed to it being configurable with the default being client side apply. Like if you're going to do this, it's a release valve for oops, we didn't anticipate something and we let users switch back to the old way. The reason that I didn't love that is what Amin said earlier, which is it's not like we feel that we have a path for client side apply to actually work correctly in all cases anyway, and I'm not sure we're ever going to. And given that, it felt kind of awkward to put it in the API when we acknowledge that it's not functionally correct. And in fact, like apply sets is more functionally correct as far as we know. I mean, obviously the rubber has not hit the road yet in that we haven't rolled it out. But that was sort of what pushed me in the direction of maybe we should just move everybody because we know that it's fixing some issues with like secrets and config maps. We do not know of any things that it's breaking. So, you can make the argument that, yeah, it's a breaking change, but you can also make the argument that it's more correct than the previous thing. So certainly if we were talking defaults and we were allowing people to roll back, to me, it doesn't make sense to have the default be the one that we know has problems. We should probably have the default be the one that we know doesn't have problems, and then the user can always opt out. But anyway, I do think it's simpler to just not even let them configure it, make the change. We're in alpha. We don't need to worry about this maybe as much as we are. Especially because, again, I think in this case, unless somebody can speak up and correct me if I'm wrong, we're not actually aware of any particular use case that this is going to, like, apply sets is going to break. Like, we think that it should just be slot in for client side diffing, but quote unquote better. And it's not, we don't know of anything that it's going to break. And that makes me feel more confident about like, yeah, let's just turn it on and see what happens. We felt when we did it that it was just going to make things better. Maybe we rue the day that we did so, but we're in alpha. So it seems like it's probably okay.
Yeah, I mean, I want to plus one what Jesse said. Two quick comments on that. I mean, one, I think we need to move faster. Two, I don't think this was the thought process. I don't think was a waste. We are eventually going to need to think about how we deal with sort of feature migration because it's going to happen, and we're going to have to do backward compatibility. But I don't think being in alpha is that time. And then the last thing I would like to add to what Chris said. If we do find anything with apply set, it has a cap. It is the Kubernetes standard way of doing things. And, there's an entire community with which we are part that is going to help us get it fixed, which is not true of client side. So I think for multiple reasons, I think it's more correct. I think it's more like it's going to work for more use cases. And when it doesn't work, it's going to get fixed, which I don't think the client side will.
All right, as the guy who wrote the PR, and who also reacted to all the changes, and who also did all of the testing together with Amin, and who also is trying to get release 0.5 in with a passion. I want to say a few words here. So, first of all, I am someone who proposed also to everyone to go ahead with server-side apply, right? And with apply set. So I'm not opposed to any of the things that we just discussed, right? Let me preface this. But number one, apply sets are not a Kubernetes standard yet. The cap has not been accepted. It's not GA yet. Doesn't mean we can't get it there. Totally agree, right? But we should speak facts, right? Second, apply sets were not functional at scale, and the only reason they are functional at scale now is because of the testing that Amin went through and the patches we pushed in. So there was testing done, right? And the reason why this whole thing came up, why this whole uncertainty around the apply mode came up, is because during that testing, we got uncertain after seeing the test. And then we went in, patched in the concurrency support, which we, by the way, took out again because we were uncertain of apply sets being concurrent in the first place in a 200 comment PR, that I then patched in again, that then solved the concurrency problems, that then mentioned the good numbers in the performance reports, right? So I just want to like showcase the whole story of how everything went, right? So it's a bit easier to understand how this thing even started existing, right? So if we would have went with Barney's implementation that had concurrency support from the start, I think it would have performed on that scale level. I will say that, right? So I just want to take like a quick like look back at what we did in the past, which was this huge PR review where everyone was adamant, and now we are suddenly acting as if we want to move fast and as if we want to iterate fast when we had like a mega PR sitting there for months, right? That we just couldn't get in for the life of it, right? And I think honestly we need to like talk about like the change adoption culture in the maintainership maybe like separately. Don't want to explode it now, right? But I think that was a large part of why things happened the way they did, right? So again, totally fine how we did it now. I'm totally happy that we run with apply sets only now, and we don't have a spec field for it, right? It keeps things less complicated. Also totally okay with things breaking. But that's not like the entire story to it, right? So yeah, sorry for the quick rundown, but I really felt the need to express what I felt happened here.
And thank you for that.
Yeah,
like just for clarity, that was needed because there's like two threads here. The thing I was speaking to is more religion. What you're speaking to is this specific experience and how we didn't follow a religion, right? So I think that we do probably need a change culture discussion out of the context of this, but using it as an example. I just put it in open discussion. We can carry it forward later. It's a really good call out, and thank you for the background and context.
Damn it, Jesse, why do you always get to my comments first? So
sorry.
It's okay. I also want to say thank you for saying that. I mean, I think we are an open source community, and multiple perspectives is what brings us power, right? So, I mean, absolutely, like, please speak out. The other thing I will say, and I think this is, again, a variant of what Jesse said, damn you, Jesse, is I think a lot of what Jesse and I were saying had to do with where we are and where we want to go, not where we were. And so, I mean, there's no criticism. I know I have certainly made comments in the past about, hey, guys, we need to be moving faster. But at the same time, you know, we also want to move in the right direction, and there's always some back and forth on that. I think your summary of, you know, how we got here is valuable and seemed pretty accurate to me. But I will also say I'm really just right now. I think the culture comment is 100% right, and kind of goes into the concept of this is where are we and where are we going, which has really been my focus.
I just want to thank Amin and Jacob for doing the scale testing that was not done initially as part of the apply set. I guess we need more tests to give confidence to maintainers that, hey, big changes will are acceptable, right? So maybe we need to start pushing the scale testing as an option in the repo.
Yeah, so just FYI, the scale tests that have been executed against Crow in general and apply sets I'm planning on publishing them sometime very soon. They are not like private. They just like happened very recently for us to validate that actually we can move on without really like any like major trade-offs in general. And I must say, like here, I'm uploading this link in here, the PR like 712. It's like this is the thing that really unlocks a lot of the bottlenecks I've been seeing with apply sets, and with Crow in general. I don't think it's really related to apply sets. And I must acknowledge that I was the person in the PR review that was like not against, but mainly like saying like, hey, maybe we don't need concurrency right now. But it turns out actually we need concurrency if we want to move fast. With that said, I'm super happy to just like share real quick the initial results. Let me see if I can open it in here. Oh, I can. So
while you're opening that, I'm gonna say something for posterity. Fully agree that we should baseline. Fully agree that we should be looking for regressions. I think that is a post co-complete thing. I think this was very required here, but I think it's an indication of how we have a lot of maturity work to do, and I wouldn't sacrifice forward momentum for that work unless we keep hitting this issue. Maybe we will, and then we should put it in place. But I do think that we got to come back. We should have code coverage. We should have more unit testing. We should have end-to-end testing, and we should be baselining and looking for regressions 100%. I don't want to conflate what you're doing here, which is valuable and incredible work that needed to happen, with something that we now have to do for every PR, unless we decide. Okay, back to you.
So just like a description of what the scale test was exactly, we had 2 RGDs in the cluster. So this is like the scale test of just like how is Crow performing when it comes to instance management and executing DAGs. There were like two main things we've done. So in the blue line, you will see the low complexity RGDs. They had only 3 resources in them that are interconnected with cell expressions. In the orange one, you're seeing a 25 resource RGD that has like interconnections as well, so a lot of edges and vertices in there, and basically the on the x-axis you see that we deployed 5,000 instances of each, which boils down actually when it comes to the medium complexity RGD to 125,000 child resource. This took around 6 hours to deploy. Basically for the orange one, it's a lot of resources. And in the process, we've been monitoring multiple things, but mainly the CPU and memory. And you can see here, like very surprisingly, and I've done those tests multiple times. Like I'm pretty sure like this is very, very low. But in general, the memory usage was like around below 225. Let me see. Yes, around 225 megabytes for managing the instances. And the CPU stayed a little bit below 25 milli CPU. This is average, of course. I'm not talking about the mini spikes that are happening, but I can get into the whys of why those numbers are very low, just like in a little bit in here. In general, like the scalability, like you can feel is somewhat linear, and I think we also have graphs for efficiency in here. The more resources we deploy, the more Crow becomes efficient. So there's not like it's just like reusing there's a lot of caching mechanisms inside and things that are being reused so that we do not like implode in memory and CPU usage. Memory efficiency is doing good, and CPU efficiency as well. Like the more we deploy, the more we're being efficient. And the reason why this is actually happening is like we had to tweak a few parameters for both apply sets, the dynamic controller, the rate limiter. I'm going to share more about like the parameters we had to tweak in Crow in order to achieve this performance. But overall, like this is like actually has been executed with apply sets in it. So let me get into the why is this quite low. So this was like for instance management, and I can share real quick about, okay, what's really the catch? Why are we seeing like very, very low resource usage? Well, the counterpart is actually RGDs. We do a lot of static analysis and like we extract a lot of information and we compile RGDs into data structures that can be reused and are very efficient in general. And you can see that actually in the counterpart, RGDs are consuming way more CPU and memory than any other thing. They're like the thing that really consumes the most resources in Crow. And here, it's a little bit like more experimentation. So there was like a 1 node, 25 node, and 100 node RGDs. Again, we deployed 5,000 of each, and you can see that when it comes to high complexity RGDs, we are a little bit over 1,000 milli CPUs, which is, I think it was like 1.6 in this specific situation. For memory usage, a little bit high as well. You can see that with 5,000 instances, we're getting into 3.6 or 3.8 gigabyte of memory when it comes to 5,000 RGDs of 100 nodes. So there's a lot of processing, a lot of information being extracted from RGDs that is like delegate or like passed directly to the instance reconciler, and the instance reconciler, all it's doing basically is making API requests. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Any comments or thoughts or things that you wanna dive in?
Just quick on that last one, Amin. The memory usage with lots of RGDs going up to like 3-point-something gigs seems more problematic than like, some of the other stuff.
Yes.
Is it fair to say that is primarily in the Informer cache, or do we have our own caches that are making the problem worse?
I can let Jacob complain about the emulator in a bit.
Yeah, there's a community PR.
Yeah, so the thing is, there's a lot of static analysis and like a lot of things that we do behind the scenes in order to achieve very good performance in instances. That is not Informers at all. That is not Informer cache. It's mainly Crow getting the schemas from the API server and doing emulation based on those schemas. So in this like high complexity nodes, we use actually like things like deployments and config maps. We use a variety of resources, and their schemas could be like really, really quite intense and have like so many fields. So emulating resources for those specific CRDs or schemas is quite expensive.
But it goes up with a number of RGDs, not just with the number of that is 1,000 or 10,000 RGDs, not
5,000 RGDs.
Okay.
This is like this is 1,000, 1, 2, 3. Sorry, 1.
I
2,
was
3,
misinterpreting
4.
it as the number of like instances of RGDs. So yes, now I okay, that seems much more acceptable. Like that is a very extreme case.
It is.
Yeah, I think we have some improvements on the way for improving the watch performance on the RGD controller. So I think there we are in good shape. I think everyone already knows about the emulator. I don't have to talk about it here. We have things in the works, I guess, right, to move to cell checked expressions. So I'm not going to go into detail on this. What I think we really need to do, and this is something that is only very approximate, is to cover different graph configurations, right? So I talked about this with Amin already. We currently have very simple graph structures in here, and they don't really reflect real world scenarios of having complex graph allocations, right? Usually when you are working, at least when I work internally with Crow, we have Helm charts that are being replaced, services that are being replaced and being orchestrated, right? So what we have is we have like small clusters of a lot of interconnected nodes that are then sparsely connected to other graphs that are also in connected nodes. It's a very interesting pattern. And I think this is something we're going to see in the future more and more, how Crow is being developed and used. But I think this is not representative of a fully realistic, like real world example of Crow at scale, right? It's only an approximation. I think we have to be very careful here as well, because the caches that we use, a lot of the things we can reuse because they reuse the same structures, right? So for example, in one of the instances you used, I mean, you have 25 config maps or something, right? So obviously this is not going to be representative. So it would be very important, I think, to share here which exact node configurations are lying behind these numbers, right? Just for transparency reasons.
I'll take the lull and just fill it in with a happy comment. I'll mirror what Barney said. I really thank both of you for this work, and thanks for bringing it up, Amin. I think you're going to document this somewhere, and I think, yeah, longer term, I think we should look at this type of testing in the project. Not for now, but just having this it's nice to have a chunky PR that you can send against tests like this and say, oh, we've got a 14% regression. Like, let's figure out what that is. I think that makes a lot of sense. And a lot of projects simply never build that. So this is great work. I'm also I'm really, by the way, just really impressed with this software. It's pretty damn good. The amount of things it's doing, and particularly like the sublinear, like the efficiencies at scale is really impressive.
So I'm going to share exactly.
Nice work.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. I'm going to say exactly the scripts that has been used to like what were the RGDs and what were like the scripts and how we orchestrated everything in here. Also, I'm going to share the configuration because we had to tweak a few things internally. I believe like I worked with 5 commits and 3 of them were from Jacob because we found some bottlenecks while we were like doing this. And I think one of them is already open in here if it's not already merged. Yeah, it's the TR725. I don't think, Jacob, did we? No, this is like quite new. So this is like a new use case. So more optimization in Crow. But actually there's like other PRs in here. I think we merged a few of them, but the ones that are still left, I think the main one in here is like some caching for the emulator. And this is one of the main reasons actually why how we kind of got around some performance issues. So this one actually needs to be merged. Not right now, but in an ideal world, we should get rid of the emulator completely, not only just like optimize it with more caching.
Okay,
Nice.
Does anybody else have specific questions on this? Yeah, we should loop back to the O.5 discussion. Within context, right? Saying, yeah, we should be willing to break things, but obviously sometimes there's things that are already in there that need to be fixed. That's really what this is translating to me as, which is great. And it sounds like right now we've unblocked a blocker. Is that correct?
I don't know. I don't quite follow. Yeah, I think we had 2 blockers that are really important. That one was the version documentation because we had things that were not valid for older versions and we had people getting confused. Right. That was solved, right? And the other one was the registry thing, and that is still standing.
That's still standing and it's still not in the list here. We should probably add that. And it's so okay. Great. Is that 713?
Yes, 713 needs to be removed.
Okay.
I think it's 680 unless we're going to file a different one, but I think we were saying 680 was intended to cover it.
Yeah. 724. Oh, okay. Yeah, so we need to resolve that. So whether we can put Helm charts in there and pushing releases there, right? Do we need, I mean, like, are we blocked on this, or we just haven't had the time, or like, is there anything anybody can do to identify this a little more, like, or anything I can do? It's not clear. Like, it just sounds like, yeah, we gotta make sure that it can take a Helm chart and then just do it, right?
Yeah, someone needs to sit down and understand and love the
Okay.
K8's infrastructure, I guess, right? For both the image and the chart.
Okay.
I guess like whoever is the first person to get some time and do some work on this, it would be great if we can get it as soon as possible. But yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't use Helm personally, but I am happy to do the first bit. I'm working on it, like trying to get the scripting. So we have the place to push it to, and I'm trying to get the job to push the image on every commit, and then we can easily add the Helm push, whatever it is, to staging and go from there. Type of thing.
Okay. Are you happy to keep working on that? Do you want to just holler in Slack if you need any help or? Okay, cool.
Sure, that works.
Thanks. Okay. Anything else on 0.5? Sorry, I mean I've slid into taking point on the meeting.
Yeah, I think those are a lot of notes. Thank you. I'm just like looking, what do we usually do after the milestone review? Is it like open discussions?
I'm making sure
okay.
I'm making sure that nobody else has anything to say. Like there's just a lot here.
Yep.
So again, thanks to everybody for everything. Yeah, I mean, I put two things from open discussion in. So one I had pre-baked, and I think it's pretty simple. I've said this before in other audiences. I think we have like a lot of, I mean, I know at least personally, I have a lot of DMs. Like I might ping somebody, just ask a question, and it becomes a conversation. I would urge everybody to just do more of that in the Crow Slack channel because there's people there and they're looking for progress. And I think we're also like where maybe we don't have a release coming for a while. If people don't join this meeting, they don't look at the minutes, they don't look at the video, they might not even know why. There's obviously a lot of passionate work going into this project. I think it would just, as much as we can, we should bring it to the Crow public Slack so that people see it and also engage with it. And maybe they have ideas or concerns.
I fully agree with you, Jesse. Like a lot of the things that happened in, especially the last 2 weeks, were quite intense. I would have like used more community input. So yeah, definitely like something. I wish that we had a thread. Yeah, a thread like talking about this rather than having a lot of one-on-ones.
Historically, it's always really good too to have a like to go back to a thread. Just want to make clear, this is not a call out. This is very, very typical. I got almost 30 years working on software projects with human beings. This happens, right? It's simpler to just go and talk with somebody and work it out. If possible, let's just start showing up there more. That's all. It's not a call out, just to be clear. But it sounds like we agree.
It does require a lot of effort to pivot from the one-to-one model to a support channel model. And lot of discipline. One of the things that actually we implemented, because we had the same here internally, and one of the things that we implemented is to encourage every single contributor of the platform. So I'm talking about the platform, but here will be maintainer of Crow. Say, hey, this should be in this channel. So when you have somebody that comes to you, you should feel empowered to say, let's have this discussion in the channel, because if tomorrow I'm not here because I'm on vacation, because I have something or whatever, then this is lost, right? So it's also a good thing to put it in perspective like that.
Call out, yeah, for sure. And again, if you hop on a huddle and you just solve a problem, that's cool. Maybe just drop a note, or maybe if there's a new issue or a PR as a result of that huddle, drop it in the Slack. Just then people will be like, oh, what is this, right? So sometimes you can just leave breadcrumbs, and that's a good starting point. So rad. We can always talk about this more too. Unless anybody has another comment on that. I also just took a note during this meeting from Jacob's suggestion. Like we probably should, I don't think we're going to do it in 4 minutes right now, so that's cool. we can roll this into the next meeting. We should talk about like our change culture and how we view changes, not so much as a historical like look back, but as a going forward, like Walter said. Like, how do we want to move from here to alpha and from alpha to beta and eventually get into, you know, release candidates? You know, maybe what we're doing now works and we could just be a lot more public and vocal about it. That's cool. Or maybe we do want to move a little faster right now over the next couple of months and then start slowing down. That's, you know, I think the team should have a discussion about that. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I mean, it's again, not a call out. It's just like
like the one thing that I've been noticing in the past is like we have a lot of foundational systems that are barely being touched, and yet they are very foundational systems that we rely on in the future for changes. So we need to find a model in which these foundational systems can be maintained effectively. Currently, Amin is owning a lot of these systems, right? And Amin is not the only guy here that maintains, right? So we really need to split some of that responsibility model in a way that works for everyone, right? In a way we can get the changes in at the same time, and we can trust the changes being correct. And currently, I feel like the trust is just not there. I'm going to be honest, right? Like the reason why we have so many PR discussions is because we don't trust the changes a lot of times, and I don't know now how to fix it. We can talk about it next time. Again, let's keep it short here. But for me, that's really like the main thing, right? How can we trust each other to be like, even if it's a big change, how can we make it correct, right? In a way that everyone is fine with it, that we don't land in conflicts, right? We don't keep pushing it from com call to com call to com call to com call, right? That was really unpleasant, I think, for everyone involved.
Yeah, there's sort of a. Go ahead, Walter.
I was going to say thank you for that call out, Jacob. I'll play the part of the choir. I have said similar things. I have a few suggestions. How many here? I mean, some of them are going to seem trivial, but sometimes these things start with trivial things. How many people are going to be at KubeCon? No, I am. Jesse, anyone else? All right. So much for that idea. I will say that one thing is I think actually meeting people in person and having something as simple as a dinner and a chat goes a long way to building trust. So maybe we should think about any opportunities we may have to gather, because I think that will help. I think trust. I just said that. Sorry, my brain not functioning. I think tests. And it's funny because I don't think it's what you meant, but when you first said how do we build trust in these components, I was like, tests. While I don't think that's necessarily what you meant, I think it's worth actually going. I think more tests allow us of the desired functionality go a long way to that. And then I also have to say I like I think more where you're implying, and I really like, is having multiple owners in an area and really splitting it out. And so, Kubernetes has a model of, maintainers, reviewers, and approvers. And, however we want to get there, I think we should be driving towards some minimum number of approvers in every section of this code. And so, whoever we have who we think is an approver today, I think we should be asking them to actively work on mentoring other contributors or reviewers into being approvers in that area. And I think I'm not saying that's the complete solution, but I think it is sort of a minimal place we can start from here.
Yep. This is just, again, I think classic project maturity stuff. This is also a novel software system. And so, Jacob, back to your point, back when I used to work on enterprise Unix systems, there's a paper actually I will dig out, I'll share with the with the team and then channel about architectural components and how novel software components, which are foundational to more complex systems that are built on top of them, always have a relational relationship with one, sometimes only one, or maybe one or two human beings that fully understand them. And those people always drift. So you end up with this other risk of like, yeah, now we have unit tests that all pass. What if they break? How do you triage that? How do you know when something, you want to do something in a middleware layer where sort of the kernel underneath should be improved to facilitate that, but you scorched earth is not an option, right? So that I think, Walter, back to your point, it's tying them together, right? We should be thinking this early in the project of knowledge share, of sharing expertise, and sort of thinking about even maybe brown bags and code reviews and stuff to walk through components. So I think that's awesome. Let's keep talking about this. We're at time now. Feel like we have some really cool stuff to discuss. And again, really wanted to say thanks to everybody, especially over the last week or two of the amount of work that's gone in. Okay, there's a lot of flat faces. But bye, everybody. Thank you all.
Tschüssi.
Cheers.